Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Boss. Dragon is Southern here. I'm here today with a friend of ours, a friend of the channel, Mr. Marcus C. Williams. He's a candidate, you may recall, who is running for the New York State Assembly in the 137th District. That's in Rochester, New York. Now, you may recall that we've spoken to him before about his campaign, and one of the big issues was violence. Now, you can see he's with us right now in between campaign stops. But I think it's very important to hear from Marcus, not only because of his campaign, but because yesterday he was live as an attempted assassin. Literally, someone had tried to kill Lee Zeldin. And Marcus, you were there in the audience, am I right?
Yes, I was. I was right there. I was in the front row. I was video recording as the event was happening.
Now, let me ask you about this event. What was the event itself?
So it was a rally to boost support and morale among Zeldin supporters and people who supported Giuliani to try to unify and bring people together behind one Republican candidate after the primary had passed. So it was a lot of joy and excitement in the air. People were happy. People wanted to see what was going to be going on, how the speaker Lee Zeldin was going to move us forward as a state.
Okay. So just to cover the basics here, because the far left media won't, was there anyone armed with firearms at the event that you could see?
Nobody had any visible firearms. None were ever displayed. It's a little bit concerning because, you know, when we talk about firearms and we talk about safety and things like that, the people in politics right now, especially in New York, want to say, oh, gun violence is the problem. Let's make it more difficult for legal law-abiding citizens to be able to protect themselves by restricting their Second Amendment rights. But also at the same time, they want to defund the police, making it more difficult for you to receive help when you need to call for the police, and making it take forever for them to get there if you can get that help at all.
I mean, you're right. And I agree with you completely. This is a great example, I think, of, okay, he didn't have a gun. People still weren't safe. But let me ask this question. So everyone, it looks like everyone was shocked by this. Was there a big anti-Lee Zeldin, a pro-Hochul kind of protest going on at the event?
No. Nobody, everybody was civil. The atmosphere was very positive. Nothing was going on out of the ordinary. It just kind of happened out of nowhere. This guy, he kind of clumsily stumbles up to the stage and looks like he's going on the stage to maybe fix something or adjust something. Nobody's quite sure. And as he goes to get on the stage, his foot gets stuck on something, his shoe, his slipper, his flip-flop, you know? And that was interesting, but everybody kind of wrote it off as it's nothing, you know? So then, somebody even was trying to help him get unstuck, right? So he goes on stage, and then he goes up to Zeldin, and he's got this, what would you call it? Like, think of it, a best description would be like brass knuckles, but with spikes, right? So that'll be the best description of, if people don't know what it is. That'll be the best description of it. And he says something to Zeldin to the like of, oh, you're done, or something like that. And then he kind of lunges at him as if maybe to jab him with this spiked implement in his neck. And everybody is kind of shocked because when he gets up there to go to move towards Zeldin, like Zeldin kind of puts his hand up to kind of block and push away him because he got like really close, right? And you could see that the guy was not sober, and it seemed as though something else was amiss with his personality and mannerisms, you know? So when he lunges at Zeldin, immediately Zeldin, I guess you would say, blocks or parries his attack, grasping his forearm and wrist to prevent him from striking him with it. And he pushes him down towards the ground, and all manners of people in the audience and security, everybody pounce on this guy.
Yeah, I saw that in the video.
So it was a lot of people on top of this guy in a matter of milliseconds, I tell you, for sure. So nobody drew any weapons, nobody drew any firearms, nothing like that. The only person that did anything with a weapon was the assailant.
Okay.
Now, during the restraint of this guy, they were able to restrain him, hold him down, and then somebody got some zip ties, and it was good because they were able to restrain him until the police came. Now, here's the deal. This is a congressman, right?
Yeah.
In a town that has a fairly low crime rate. So one of the nicer suburbs of Rochester. Rochester is an extremely high crime area.
Yes.
But in the Parenton area, they don't have that much crime at all. But when they called the police, remember, this is an attack on a sitting congressman right now. When they called the police, it took a little bit of time. And when I say a little bit of time, probably more than one would like for an attack on a sitting congressman for them to arrive because they're spread so thin.
So was it like really 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or what would you say?
It was like 5-10 minutes.
That's maybe a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. Especially now, consider the fact that this man was drunk, had a very, what would you say, a limited lethality weapon.
Right.
Like, Lord forbid, it was some sort of a very aggressive assailant that really had intent to do harm, or a group of assailants. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
And with that being said, again, this goes back to public safety, defunding the police, wait times, and your Second Amendment rights with you being able to defend yourself. This is a case in point of why everybody should, in New York State, that is a law-abiding citizen, should be able to be legally armed.
Well, they've gotten rid of that, even though the Supreme Court agreed with you. Kathy Hochul, the Democrats in the Assembly and the Senate, they went and removed that ability, which I believe is unconstitutional. We'll see in the courts. Let me ask you, at the event after this, how did your constituents, how did people there react? I mean, what was the thought?
People were upset. I mean, rightly so, right? So we had all of this, this very positive, very, very, very happy type of an atmosphere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm not going to say like a party, but like a gleeful occasion atmosphere, you know? Like
right.
there was, or after that, they're like kind of like, what the H, you know? It was kind of an annoying thing, but thankfully after that, everybody's kind of went back to normal after that brief tussle. After the police came, they removed the guy. Everybody kind of got back to normal, rather in expeditious fashion. Zeldin got back up to finish his little speech because he only had a small part left. And he finished his speech, and then we all kind of like went on about ourselves, and like we're like, what the hell just happened previous to him finishing the speech, because we're all trying to figure out exactly what happened, what was going on. The guy, during his restraint and stuff, the guy was talking about he's an Iraq war veteran, he's a this, he's a that, and you could kind of see in his expression and his mannerisms that he was going through some sort of emotional or psychological trauma.
So
and I think that really goes to the point that needs to be addressed about the way our veterans are treated and cared for. when they come home, especially in New York State. They are neglected, they are not looked after, and they do not care on the state level about our veterans, their mental or emotional health, enough to get them the services that they really, really deserve and need.
No, right now it seems that Hochul and many others are too busy trying to give more benefits to illegal aliens and making New York State a safe haven. Let me ask you this, Marcus. What have your constituents said with the knowledge now that we know that Kathy Hochul, just a couple of hours before the attack, had sent out an email telling her supporters where Lee Zeldin was going to be and to challenge him? That this was the email that was sent out directly from the Hochul campaign. Are your constituents saying, especially given the violence that's in the 137th district, are they concerned for you? Are they concerned for themselves? Has this made them feel more or less safe?
So we also had an issue similar to this recently. We had not the violence, but the issue with opposition throwing out insults, slander, and provocation to people who are really, perpetrators of violence, like the Antifa type of a crowd, the violent instruments and implements of BLM and stuff like that. When we had this tour that was coming through Rochester called the Reawaken America Tour, I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah, so the Reawaken America Tour, it's a Christian-based tour with also some politics in it for supporting our nation and supporting our country. So we had legislatures, we had state senators in our area send out mail and send out emails and send out press releases talking about, oh, these people are evil, they shouldn't come here, they're horrible, they're extremists, they're this, they're that. Now, the crazy thing about this is you didn't hear anybody that planned on going to the Reawaken America Tour say anything negative, propagate anything that would even sound like they were inciting violence, or even say, boo. Like, legitimately, the people that were talking about they were going to take aggressive action were the people that were being provoked by the Democrats to go and harass the people who were going to be the attendees. They got on the news media. They put out they made it a big deal. They were doing tours, brother. They were doing tours around the town telling everybody how terrible this was and how these people are anti-alphabet people, anti-Semites, and anti this and anti that, and it was insane. It was insane. And now I don't know how much you follow Michael Flynn or not, or whatever the case is, and I don't really want to go into it, but I'll use Michael Flynn as an example, right? I'm very pro-America.
Right.
I support Israel as our ally because we don't have strong allies over there in the area like Israel that are willing to stand up to people who basically chant death to America every day.
Yes.
So, but Michael Flynn is extremely pro-Israel, like extremely. So to call somebody like that an anti-Semite is something that kind of makes you have to scratch your head, right?
Seems odd, yeah.
Yeah. So these people are out here, elected officials, saying all of these horrible things, pushing to get this event canceled, where people just want to come together, fellowship with it, about both the Lord and support for our nation and our Constitution. And this goes right into what you're saying about Kathy Hochul putting out all of this information, where Lee Zeldin is doing a rally because she's putting it out to her people who she knows are filled with provocateurs and people that are ready to do heinous activities, because that's the type of philosophy that has been cultured and nurtured through the last 2 to 3 years by her ilk, okay? Her, Cuomo, the rest of the Democratic Party in New York State and on the federal level as well. It's been a shame. It's been a disastrous shame that we as Americans have to put up and tolerate the continued bombardment of our rights, our Constitution, and our liberties and freedoms, because we want to stand up to support our nation, because we want to stand up and say, I am a believer in the Lord, or I am a believer in Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't know when we started to get rid of our rights in the Constitution, but the Bill of Rights is being burnt asunder. And it's horrible that people that are in office, especially on the level of a governor, these elected officials swore an oath to protect the Constitution, and here they are working to limit any voice that may be in opposition or present a counter narrative or a opposing position. What does that say about them as leaders? Does that make them good leaders? I don't know. But if you ask me, that's not right. That's wrong. And that's very unjust.
Well, let me ask, given what's going on, given this scenario, and we've been told repeatedly that that this is about unification. This is coming from Joe Biden. This is coming from Kathy Hochul, that they're looking to unify, that this is about diversity. Do you and your constituents in the 137th district of New York State feel more unified? Do you feel more that this diversity, this focus on shutting down voices that don't agree with the progressive ideology, that's a benefit to anyone?
My constituents feel something deep down in the soul of America has been lost. My constituents are not happy with what's going on. They see that they're being, and this is like a very serious issue, because a lot of people are concerned about speaking up when they see what's going on and believe that it's wrong, because they'll be chastised and ran out of their job. They'll be, canceled by the public. They won't be able to participate in certain activities, or they'll be silenced or censored by the media. And it's really a serious thing. Now, they say that this is about unification and diversity. Well, it's clearly not about diversity of thought, right?
Right.
Because if you are a Black person, and I say this because I am Black, and you go against what the narrative on the left is, oh my goodness, they'll call you every type of a racist trope that they could ever think of. They'll call you anything but a child of God, and definitely not a human. And it's so offensive, angering, and hurtful. It's really hurtful. But most of all, what's so upsetting is they call for unity, and maybe this is unity for them. Maybe unity for them is eradicating any opposition of thought, idea, or conversation. Maybe that's what unity looks like them. Unity for them means homogeny. That's what it means. It means that they want everybody to think the same way, act the same way, and be the same way. Maybe it doesn't matter what you gender identify. Okay, maybe it doesn't matter what your skin tone is, but if you have diversity of thought, they don't want you. They will do everything they can to get rid of you, and in many cases, go as far as working to erase you or have people coerced to aggressive action against you. And that is wrong, especially from elected officials.
Well, you're right. I could see that completely. Let me ask you, Marcus, many people are worried about what this will do to the First Amendment, that when we see politicians sending out supporters, and those supporters we have seen over and over again with the assassination attempt against Justice Kavanaugh, when we've seen this attack, we've seen multiple attacks because of individuals like Maxine Waters or Governor Hochul sending their supporters after individuals like yourself. let me ask you, are you seeing that affect voters, constituents, people willing to speak or even attend to show their support? Or is it having the opposite effect that people are saying, no, I definitely want my voice heard now? Because I know you're still out campaigning, but what about everyone else?
It's a double-edged sword, I'd say. There are people that are now starting to be more vocal, but like I said earlier, being vocal about these type of things is more difficult because the liberal left, and that's not all the Democrats, right? But it's the ones that are in lockstep with the people that are the leaders that are in power. And they're just working to put everybody out and make everybody look bad if they don't agree. I've heard from people that are real true supporters of some candidates that are good candidates, and they're like, oh, I love you so much, but I'm not able to put a sign in my yard because my neighbors might attack me or come after me.
Wow.
That's hard. This is America right now. This is America. I don't know. I'm not that old, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that in my lifetime, so much has gone. So much is gone. So much has been taken as far as freedoms go, as far as liberties go. And I know that you've got a few years on me, so I'm sure that you've seen a continued decline on these matters, haven't you?
Well, you're very kind about my age, but yes, we have seen that decline. I know we only have a few moments left, and I know, again, that you are in transit to another event to speak to your constituents, so I do appreciate that. We've got about 5 minutes left. Let me first ask, for those who are interested about finding out about the 137th Assembly District race and your campaign, how might they contact you?
I would encourage you to find me on my website, Marcus, the number 4, Rochester.com. That's MARCUS 4 Rochester.com. Excuse me. Check me out. I am on Facebook, Marcus C. Williams. You'll find me on YouTube, Marcus, the number 4 Rochester. I'm on pretty much all social media. You'll find me somewhere, somehow. But definitely check out my website, Marcus, the number 4 Rochester.com. The crime is going very, very far in our district right now. Last night, we had a cop executed on duty. Another officer was shot in that, and so was a bystander. We're at about 41, 42 deaths, murders this year that we know about, which doesn't include the 5 or 6 bodies that they found, that they've announced that they found over this year. Things are getting serious. The policies like bail reform, less is more, discovery laws, and raise the age have been an extreme detriment to our city. Our elected officials on the state level for state assembly, like I'm running for, and state senate are not being held accountable. And if we want to see some notable change in the quality of life and improvement, we need to get everybody out to vote all across the state this year. Everybody needs to come out and vote. Encourage your friend, your family, hell, encourage your enemies. Get out and vote. Tell them vote different, vote row B. That's my message to you. That's my message to everyone. Get out and vote row B.
I do recommend that everyone get out and vote. We always recommend that no matter whom people vote for. We absolutely invite people to check out your website to learn about you so that they can be an informed voter. And we especially say, go to our Rumble channel. YouTube removed it, but on Rumble, it has our first interview that I think is very important, talking about many of your concerns you've raised here today in terms of violence and violence prevention. And I want people to know this is obviously a growing story, and perhaps even the bigger story. What about the police that were shot that are being overshadowed by the news about Lee Zeldin today? Marcus, I want to thank you for making us aware of this, for taking the time today in your busy schedule to speak with us. And I am sure this will not be the last time we hear from you.
Thank you very much, brother. It's my pleasure being on your show.
Absolutely.